I breathe out into the hush, and the hush breathes back. There are nights when the weight is not one thing, but many, woven strands that knot together until I can't tell where one ache ends and another begins. The body remembers a heaviness it never learned to name. The chest holds its breath as if bracing for words that never come. And in that stillness, the mind whispers its verdicts, quiet but sharp, unrelenting as rain tapping against glass. Too much, not enough, too loud, too quiet. The contradictions press like fingerprints, leaving their mark on skin that never asked to carry them. I move through the hours as though balancing fragile glass in trembling hands, longing to rest, longing to release, yet caught in the endless circling of a heart that fears it will break if it ever stops pretending to be whole. So I begin here, at the threshold of silence. One breath, a doorway into the tender places we are taught to hide. Shame is not thunder. It does not arrive with noise or spectacle. It is quieter than that, a whisper threading itself into memory, a shadow clinging to the heart until even light bends beneath it. It begins with one moment, one slip, and somehow that moment becomes infinite. The mind replays it again and again, projected on the walls of thought until it feels less like memory and more like identity. You are not enough, it says. You are the mistake itself. Even joy feels borrowed in its presence, fragile, ready to be snatched away at the first reminder that you do not deserve it. And so you carry yourself carefully, as though walking with broken glass in your hands, afraid that if anyone looks too closely, they will see the flaw you cannot wash away. It is a strange kind of imprisonment, the bars invisible, the door unlocked, and yet the body does not move. But here, in this quiet, I allow the voice to grow tired. I let it circle, and circle, and circle again, until it begins to fade. Because I am not that single moment. I am not the story shame tells about me. I breathe into the ache. I breathe into the memory. I breathe into the stillness that waits beneath it all. And in that stillness, shame softens. Even in shadows, there is wholeness. Even in silence, there is worth. Even in the quietest corners of myself, I am already enough. But shame rarely stands still. When the whisper grows weary, it often leaves an echo behind, a thought, a question, a replay of what was already lived. The mind does not release easily. It circles the same hallway, touching the same walls, searching for a door that was never there. And so silence fills with noise, not from the world outside, but from the ceaseless theater within. What if I should have known better? What if I had chosen differently? What if I am only the sum of every misstep I cannot undo? The whispers harden into knots, and the circling begins again. Overthinking is not thunder. It does not shatter glass or break through the night. It hums instead, a restless current beneath the skin, a low vibration that never quite stops. It begins with a single thread, one harmless thought, ordinary, unnoticed by anyone else. But the mind catches it, pulls it tighter, spins it into 1,000 strands until they knot around the chest. Every silence becomes a space to fill, every pause, a story waiting to be written. You replay old words until they blur, until they carry meanings they never held. You wander long corridors of what if and if only, always walking, never arriving. The body grows weary in this circling, yet the mind refuses to unclench its grip, and so you live between two hungers, the hunger to know and the hunger to stop searching. But the mind rarely offers answers. It only builds mirrors that reflect the same question back again. And yet, there is another way of seeing. If I let the loops soften, if I let the threads fall loose, they no longer bind. They drift like waves retreating to sea, like clouds sliding across a sky that never stops being sky. The stories rise again, yes, but I can watch them pass. I am not the noise. I am not the knot. I am the ground beneath, the riverbed waiting, steady beneath the rushing water. And here, in this pause, rest becomes possible, not forever, not perfectly, but enough for now. But the mind does not circle alone. Every thought carves its shape into the body that carries it. The shoulders tighten, the jaw clenches, the chest holds its breath as if bracing for storms that never arrive. And soon the body begins to speak its own language of weariness. Lying down does not bring rest, for the thoughts march louder in stillness. Rising to move does not bring release, for the limbs drag like stone, each step heavy with invisible weight. It is a war with no victor, a struggle without end, the mind restless, the body weary, each pulling against the other until both collapse in silence. There is a war inside me. My body pleads for rest, but my mind refuses. When I lie down, the thoughts march louder, filling the quiet with their noise. When I rise to move, my limbs feel like stone, each step dragging through invisible weight. It is a tug of war with no rope to drop, no ground to claim. Rest feels like weakness, effort feels like failure. And so I hover in between, never quite stopping, never quite moving, a ghost pacing the borders between exhaustion and unrest. I want to lay everything down. I want to be still. Yet the guilt presses in, whispering that stillness is laziness, that pause is proof I am falling behind. And so the body stiffens, the mind spins, the hours stretch on, and sleep remains distant. This is not the simple tiredness that fades with night. It is a deeper unrest, an ache carried in the bones, a weight pressing into muscle and thought alike. But what if there is no battle to win? What if stillness and movement are not enemies, but two notes in the same tender song? What if tiredness itself is not a flaw, but a signal, a quiet language the body speaks when it longs for care? So I let the guilt slip, like sand through open hands. I let the weight sink, carried by the earth that has always held me. My body is not lazy. My mind is not broken. They are weary companions, calling out for the same kindness. And here, in this pause, I am unfinished, unhurried, yet whole, even in my unrest. But unrest is rarely quiet for long. Even when the body softens, the mind finds new ways to measure and divide. Too tired, yet not resting enough. Too still, yet never calm. And soon the struggle shifts, from war between body and thought to the heavier burden of identity itself. Am I too much? Am I not enough? The questions whisper on repeat, shaping every silence, echoing in every word. It is a strange ache. To feel yourself both overflowing and empty. To stand in the middle of contradiction, unsure if you are allowed to take up space at all. There is a peculiar weight in being both too much and never enough. Every word feels heavy, spilling louder than it should, echoing in spaces where silence was expected. Every silence feels wrong, a hollow absence where something brighter, sharper was meant to be. Too sensitive, too quiet, too complicated. The labels press like fingerprints on glass that never clears, so you bend yourself smaller, then stretch yourself wider, searching for a shape that someone might finally call right. But the mirror never softens, always too loud for some. Too invisible for others, you live suspended between contradiction and longing. And yet, what if the ache does not need fixing? What if contradiction itself is not a flaw, but a rhythm? A proof of life's complexity echoing inside you. You are not too much. You are not too little. You are the pulse between the two, the steady rhythm that holds both notes. There is room for your voice, whether it rises like thunder or falls quiet as dew. There is space for your tenderness, even when it cuts sharp. There is space for your silence, even when it feels unbearably loud. You do not need to fit the shape they imagine. You do not need to choose between shrinking or overflowing. Here, you are allowed to stretch beyond measure. Here, you are allowed to rest without apology. Breathe into the too much. Breathe into the not enough. Breathe into the ache of both until it softens, until it dissolves into the truth waiting beneath. You are already whole. So if shame has pressed its fingerprints on your heart, if your mind has circled itself raw with questions, if your body has pleaded for rest it cannot find, if you have felt both too much and never enough, know this: you are not alone in these weights. Others have carried them too. Others have walked through the same corridors of memory, hearing the same verdicts whispered in the dark. Others have laid awake with stone-heavy limbs, fighting wars between guilt and exhaustion. Others have worn the same mask of contradiction, unsure if they should shrink or expand just to be seen. And still they breathe, and still you breathe. You are not the shame you carry. You are not the echoes that spin inside your mind. You are not the heaviness of unrest, nor the ache of contradiction. You are the breath that remains when the whisper grows quiet. You are the stillness that holds when the storm has passed. You are the quiet proof that life continues, even when it feels too heavy to name. So let this moment cradle you, as it has cradled others before. A breath, a pause, a fragile mercy that waits beneath the ache. And if you feel like it, leave a small light below, not for me, but for the unseen hearts who may wander here after you, searching for a sign that they are not walking this path alone.